यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनातीरावनाचारी यमुनातीरावनाचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यमुनातीरावनाचारी यमुनातीरावनाचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यमुनातीरावनाचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी Yomispat Paramams Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Sacha Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Rantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Harinam Sankirtan Mahayagna ki Shri Shri Radha Madana Mohan ki Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Mai Darshan ki Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki Thai Gaur Premanande Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, Text number 28. Would you all like to repeat with me? This is a text. This is a prose. Shri Shuka Uvacha Evam Anusasyatmajan Swayam Anushishtan Api Lokanushasanartham Mahanubhava Paramasuhrid Bhagavan Rishabhadesha Upasamashilanam Uparata Karmanam Mahamuninam Bhakti Jnana Vairagya Lakshanam Paramahamsa Dharmam Upashikshamanaha Swatanaya Satajeshtham Paramabhagavatam Bhagavajjana Parayanam Bharatam Dharani Palanayabhishya Swayam Bhavana Evor Varita Shariramatra Parigraha Unmatta Iva Gagana Paridhanaha Prakirna Kesha Atmani Aropita Havaniyo Brahmavartat Pravavraja. Anybody wants to repeat? All right, word to word meaning, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Shri Sukadeva Goswami said, Evam, in this way, Anushasya, after instructing Atmajan, his sons, Swayam, personally, Anushishtan, highly educated in culture, Api, although, Loka Anushasana Artham, just to instruct the people, Mahanubhavaha, the great personality, Parama Suhrit, everyone's sublime well-wisher, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Rishabha Apadeshaha, who is celebrated and known as Rishabha Deva, Upashama Shilanam, of persons who have no desire for material enjoyment. Uparata Karmanam, who are no longer interested in fruitive activities. Mahamuninam, who are sannyasis. Bhakti, devotional service. Jnana, perfect knowledge. Vairagya, detachment. Lakshanam, characterized by Paramahamsya, of the best of human beings. Dharmam, the duties. Upashikshamanaha, instructing. Swatanaya, of his sons. Shata, 100. Jeshtham, the eldest. Parama Bhagavatam, a topmost devotee of the Lord. Bhagavad Jana Parayanam, a follower of the devotees of the Lord. Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. Bharatam, Bharata Maharaj. Dharani Palanaya, with a view to ruling the world. Abhishitya, placing on the throne. Swayam, personally. Bhavane, at home. Eva, although. Urvarita, remaining. Sharira Matra, the body only. Parigraha, accepting. Unmattaha, a madman. Iva, exactly like. Gagana Paridhanaha, taking the sky as his dress. Prakirna Keshaha, having scattered hair. Atmani, in himself. Aropita, keeping. Ahavaniyaha, the Vedic fire. Brahmavartat, from the place known as Brahmavarta. Pravavraja, began to travel all over the world. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Sukadeva Goswami said, thus the great well-wisher of everyone, the Supreme Rishabhadeva, instructed his own sons. Although they were perfectly educated culture, he instructed them just to set an example of how a father should instruct his sons before retiring from family life. Sannyasis who are no longer bound by fruitive activity and who have taken to devotional service after all their material desires have been vanquished, also learn by these instructions. Lord Rishabhadeva instructed his 100 sons, of whom the eldest Bharata was a very advanced devotee and follower of Vaishnavas. In order to rule the world, the Lord enthroned his eldest son on the royal seat. Thereafter, although still at home, Lord Rishabhadeva lived like a madman, naked, with disheveled hair. Then the Lord took the sacrificial fire within himself, and he left Brahmavarta to tour the whole world. Purport. Actually, the instructions given to Lord Rishabhadeva's sons were not exactly meant for his sons because they were already educated and highly advanced in knowledge. Rather, these instructions were meant for sannyasis who intend to become advanced devotees. Sannyasis must abide by Lord Rishabhadeva's instructions while on the path of devotional service. Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadramai, Shri Shri Gaurnithai, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan Ki. Sannyasis must abide by the Lord Rishabhadeva's instruction while on the path of devotional service. Lord Rishabhadeva retired from family life and lived like a naked madman, even while still within his family. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Akshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mancha Kalpatarubhyascha Krupa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Sukadeva Goswami said, thus the great well-wisher of everyone, the Supreme Lord Rishabhadeva, instructed his own sons. Although they were perfectly educated and cultured, he instructed them just to set an example of how a father should instruct his sons before retiring from family life. Sannyasis who are no longer bound by fruitive activity and who have taken to devotional service after all their material desires have been vanquished, also learn by these instructions. Lord Rishabhadeva instructed his 100 sons, of whom the eldest, Bharata, was a very advanced devotee and a follower of Vaishnavas. In order to rule the whole world, the Lord enthroned his eldest son on the royal seat. Thereafter, although still at home, Lord Rishabhadeva lived like a madman, naked and with disheveled hair. Then the Lord took the sacrificial fire within himself and he left Brahmavarta to tour the whole world. Ukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Deenatarinam Pramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya. Thank you very much for joining us on the morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. So here Deva Goswami is continuing to speak about the relevance and details and the spirit behind Lord Rishabhadeva's instructions. Lord Rishabhadeva says, my dear sons, you should not envy any living entity, be he moving or non-moving, knowing that I am situated in them. You should offer respect to all of them at every moment. In this way, you offer respect to me. So Rishabhadeva is telling his sons that all living entities, when you see them, you should not become envious, but you should recognize my presence in their heart. They all belong to me as much as you belong to me. So how could you be envious? You should offer all respects to them, recognizing that I am present in them. So Rishabhadeva is saying that there is no scope or possibility for anybody to become envious. Rishabhadeva is also, Lord Rishabhadeva is also saying that I am fully opulent, almighty, superior to Lord Brahma, Indra, and I am also the bestower of all happiness obtained in heavenly kingdom and by liberation. Rishabhadeva, the Lord himself, he lived like a mendicant. He lived like a avadhuta. The Lord himself appears in that form. And it's said that towards the end of his Leela, he was like a madman, wearing no clothes and going around with the sacrificial fire in his heart. But then the same Lord says that for all the people who desire some material comforts and what happiness or something, the Lord himself is the bestower. He bestows to people according to their desire, but he does not partake in such activities, such fruitive activities. But there are many, he recognizes that there will always be people who want to elevate themselves to a higher standard of living, more happiness and so on. And he facilitates, though he himself is personally renounced when he appears as Rishabhadeva. But he is the bestower of all the happiness for all the people, even in the heavenly planets. But here, he also mentions a very important point, saying that nonetheless, the Brahmanas do not seek material comforts from me. They are very pure and do not want to possess. Do not want to possess anything. They simply engage in my devotional service. What is the need of their asking for material benefits from anybody else? So the Lord is saying that there will be a class of people who will be called Brahmanas, and they are called Brahmanas not because of by virtue of their birth or something. They will be called Brahmanas because they are very pure and do not want to possess anything. They simply engage in my devotional service. So these great personalities engage in devotional service, and hence they do not want, or they do not, neither do they possess nor do they want anything. Though the Lord is also mentioning there will be another class of people who want the heavenly world, heavenly kingdom, happiness there and so on. But here he's pointing out that the Brahmanas are a special, unique class by themselves. They simply engage in my devotional service. And what is the need of their asking for material benefits from anybody else? So not only will they come to me and ask for any material, will they not come to me and ask for material benefits? If they don't even want to come to me and ask for anything, any upgradation or shall we say better living standards even from me, why will they ever go to anywhere else? Why will they go to anybody else seeking material benefits? They don't seek material benefits, which is what distinguishes them from the rest. And hence they are called the Brahmanas. In this chapter, there are quite a few number of verses where the Lord is speaking about Brahmanas and Brahminical qualities in sufficient detail. Here is saying that they practice penance, tapasya and tolerance, titiksha, and they realize the position of the living entity and Supreme Lord. In fact, here in this verse number 24, he says, these are the 8 qualifications of the Brahmanas. Therefore, among all the living entities, no one is superior to the Brahmanas. So, Rishabhadeva is speaking about Brahminical culture, Brahminical values, standards, and what distinguishes them. Sattva guna, because of this, they are fixed in mind control, shama. Sense control, dhamma. Truthfulness, satya. And the Brahmanas describe the Vedas in their original sense. They have the courage, they have the conviction, they have the purity, and they have a non-exploitative nature. And hence they present the Vedic scriptures as they are. They're very, they have that level of conviction. They're not presenting the Vedic scriptures in order to eke out living out of that activity. But here Rishabhadeva is saying they describe the Vedas in their original sense out of anugraha, out of mercy. And they preach the purpose of Vedas to all conditioned souls. So another character that distinguishes a Brahmana is anugraha. And then there is tapasya, and then there is the titiksha, and there is anubhava. So together there are 8 qualities of the Brahmanas. So they are very different, they are very unique because they have tolerance. These are the ornaments of a Brahmana, of a Brahmanical class of person. Shama, Dhamma, Satya, Anugraha, Tapasya, Titiksha, Anubhava. And then it says that, Rishabhadeva says, they realize the position of the living entity and the Supreme Lord, which means they also understand the position of the living entity vis-a-vis that of the Lord. And then Rishabhadeva declares, but because they are ornamented with these 8 qualities, no one is superior to the Brahmanas. So here is a declaration by the Supreme Lord himself that no one is superior to the Brahmanas. So these qualities win the heart of the Lord, to the extent that in the previous verse the Lord declares that O respectful Brahmanas, verse number 23, the Lord declares, as far as I am concerned, no one is equal or superior to the Brahmanas in this world. I do not find anyone comparable to them. When people know my motive after performing rituals according to the Vedic principles, they offer food to me with faith and love through the mouth of a Brahmana. When food is thus offered unto me, I eat it with full satisfaction. I derive more pleasure from the food offered in that way than from the food offered in sacrificial fire. This is a very, very powerful endorsement or declaration by the Lord, saying that if you were to call some Brahmanas who are blessed and endowed with these 8 transcendental qualities, and you feed them, instead of you feeding me through offerings in the sacrificial fire, I derive more pleasure from the food offered in that way than from the food offered in sacrificial fire. So he is instructing his sons that if ever you wish to please me, or you please understand what it means to be a Brahmana, which is why we see in today's verse it is said that these instructions are not just for all people of this world, but these are instructions that are relevant for sannyasis also. In other words, the Lord is explaining that why a Brahmana is considered as the top of the Varnashrama hierarchy, and who is qualified to be called a Brahmana. And the Lord is actually separating all ritualistic activities and performance from the spirit behind them. So it is that spirit that the Lord is speaking, spirit and the mood and the bhava he's capturing in verse number 24, where he says these are the 8 qualities of a Brahmana. He experiences the truth, he is aware of the truth, he is truthful, he is controlled, he practices austerity and tapasya and titiksha, tolerance, but the key word here is anugraha. The Lord says the Brahmanas are very kind and merciful, and they are. What does it mean to be merciful? Actually, the word mercy means to show some favor to somebody who doesn't deserve. If you are showing some favor to somebody who deserves, you don't use the word mercy. He got what he is due, what he has earned, or something like that. But when we use the word mercy, it goes beyond the normal understanding where you work for it and you're qualified and you receive something. But that's not what mercy is called. What is mercy? Mercy means you're going out of the way to reach out to someone who actually probably is not qualified, or So Brahmana is very thoughtful. He is very mature. He is very soft-hearted, very gentle and soft-hearted, and he's always thinking, oh, there is there's this politically, people use this word, the privileged and the underprivileged and the less privileged. So as far as privileged people are concerned, they know the scripture, they read the scripture, they probably have upbringing and so on. So, what about those who are not so privileged, who are not so fortunate to be born in Brahminical situation, whose parents are not so wise, intelligent, or blessed or fortunate? So mercy means a Brahmana wants to create their good wealth, wants to create auspiciousness in their life. Though technically speaking, they're not probably eligible for it. That's when we use the word mercy, anugraha, giving out to somebody who is not qualified or deserving, in the normal sense of the term, which is why I say patita pavana, which means the Lord Chaitanya is like, he ignores one's qualification or lack of it, and then he still gives. Mercy means, I'm happy today, I have got, so why can't I share it with everybody? I mean, why can't I give this knowledge to everybody? So Prabhupada said that the mercy incarnation is Lord Chaitanya. And here it is said that the representatives of Lord Chaitanya also are sometimes, they're also merciful. They're distinguished by this characteristic of mercy. And it is said that so much so that sometimes the representatives of Lord Chaitanya tend to be even more indiscriminately merciful than Lord Chaitanya himself. You could say that you could draw some boundary to the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Probably, even if you were to draw a boundary, I'm saying academically speaking, if you could draw a boundary to Lord Chaitanya's mercy, the followers of Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda Prabhu specifically and his followers, break that boundary and go beyond. They don't even recognize this kind of a boundary, and they say that everybody, until they come to the point of show them mercy and work for them or pray for them or bless them or whatever, come to the point of taking to the chanting of the holy name or something. So, in other words, the mercy of the Brahmanas or Vaishnava Brahmanas transcends all limit that norms of the society tend to impose. How can you empower such and such a person? He's a Yavana, he's a Mlecha, he's this, he's a Chandala, he's a dog eater. But the mercy of Lord Nityananda transcends all of that, far beyond the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Which is why Lord Chaitanya instructs Nityananda, says, you are the right person to preach and carry forward this legacy. Now you go and preach everywhere. You give, because you're a giver who gives indiscriminately. And you forgive indiscriminately. You tolerate a lot more than I do. You're so much more outgoing. In many ways, so Lord Chaitanya empowers Lord Nityananda and says, now you go and preach. And so there are instances where we see that Lord Chaitanya actually, Lord Nityananda actually surpasses Lord Chaitanya in giving out mercy to an inconceivable level, achintya level. You can't even conceive. How can somebody be so great and merciful? Is that possible at all? So you could say that ours is a parampara of mercy, anugraha, limitless anugraha. But that is not to say that we can take advantage and exploit or misuse. That's a different topic. I don't want to talk about it now. But the point is that Rishabhadeva is saying, here is a Brahmana who's equipped to be my representative. I mean, here is a person whom I like, who I adore. So much so that if you serve him and please him and feed him at the end of a sacrifice, it is more pleasing to me. I eat through his mouth than when you offer into sacrificial fire yours directly to me. I derive more pleasure when these Brahmanas are being worshipped and fed. So the origin of this understanding comes from Rishabhadeva's own personal instructions, because Prabhupada used to quote this often, the saying that the Lord is more pleased when the Brahmanas, the devotees are worshipped and and the Lord personally gives them a much higher or bigger status. So we'll just go over these 8 qualities once more, because Sattva Guna, the mind, there is Shama means mind control. It's also very nice. So what do we mean by mind control? Ultimately, the word mind control means not let any other desire other than the desire to serve the Lord have a place in your mind. Other than the desire to serve the Lord, the Vaishnavas, serve the mission of whatever, Guru, Krishna, etc. To have a place in your mind, that is real mind control. To have a place at all, not even to have a place in your mind. To pray that one should be constantly absorbed in following the mission of my Guru and Krishna. Shama means mind control. Mind control means comes by virtue of prayer. Of course, there is this practice and one has to do tapasya, etc. But ultimately, one achieves mind control also by virtue of a sincere, heartfelt prayer. And I don't want any space in my mind for any desire other than serving Guru and Krishna's mission. So what's sense control? Sense control is a natural outcome of mind control, because the mind is so determined and so focused that I don't want to have any, there should be no place in my mind for any thought other than the service of Guru, Krishna, Vaishnavas. Automatically, the mind will then regulate the senses. Mind regulates the senses. Mind regulates the senses because it is superior to the senses. Mind regulates the senses and engages them only in following that mission. So, when we have mind control, sense control is also achieved. But sense control tends to fail if you don't have mind control. You can't just live by sense control. That doesn't really work in the long term. There has to be a transformation of the heart, the mind. Which means in our heart and mind, we have to ask ourselves, what is the position I'm giving to my Guru and Guru's instructions, and like that. Then mind control and then sense control will follow from that. And then there is truthfulness. Truthfulness means, of course, these words have very deep, profound meaning. Ultimately, truthfulness also means to be truthful to oneself in the sense that one has to accept that I'm not up there on the Paramahamsa level. Be truthful to yourself. I have Krodha, Kama, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, etc. and anything else you can name. I am a repository, I am a reservoir of all of that. To be truthful, to be honest to oneself, and prayer in front of Guru and in front of Krishna. And to be truthful, to be honest to yourself, and then to pray, helplessly pray, saying that because I am flooded with these kind of things, my Lord, will you kindly show some mercy, anugraha? Will you kindly glance mercifully at me? I'm truthfully, as shamefully and shamelessly I'm coming to you and begging you that this is my true nature. I'm so scared if somebody were to peek into my mind what they will discover, what horrible things they will see. I want to be honest and I want to admit this to you. And my Lord, will you kindly, truthfully, I am asking you, will you kindly be merciful? So truthfulness requires courage. Truthfulness requires truthfulness requires faith also, faith in the words of Shastra. And then you will truthfully go and approach the Lord for mercy. Lord, Vaishnavas, everybody will truthfully admit that this is what I am, this is what I really am inside. So will you kindly, you are my only hope. So that is being truthful. Of course, truthful also means that we are conscious about the Guru's mood, mission, and want to truthfully imbibe and execute it. Then there is, they describe Vedas in the original sense. Because for them, describing the Vedas is a very sacred act of worship of Guru and Krishna. Very sacred act. So they wouldn't dare interpolate or mix or dilute. It may be that they can't follow the high standards of Paramahamsa life as mentioned in the scriptures, but they will not dilute. They would dare not. Because it's a very sacrosanct, very sacred act of representing the mood of Krishna, representing the words of the Lord. They would rather not misrepresent at any cost. That's also another aspect of being truthful. So present the Vedic truth in their original beauty, in their original resplendent nature, in their original glory. The Vedic literature are also ultimately their anugraha of the Lord. They are no less, they are not just descriptions of the beauty of the Lord or the magnificence of the Lord, or they are actually words that carry the magnanimity and anugraha of the Lord ultimately. That is the purpose, the spirit behind. So that the Lord says, at least if they hear some of these things, maybe they'll get attracted to me. So it's actually not narcissistic statements of the Lord, but they're actually entreaties of the Lord, which means the Lord is saying, hoping that at least when you read all this, what I am doing for my devotees, how much I love, how much I care for them, maybe you'll be attracted to me. So describing the scriptures is a very sacred, sacrosanct, very gratefully done by the Brahmanas. So there will be no risk or threat of interpolation or misrepresentation when we hear from a genuine Brahmana. You can take his words as they are. Prabhupada was an embodiment of that. He would say, what I can do, I will present to you Krishna's words. Maybe they may not be to your liking, but I'll pray on your behalf that you will accept them. I'll pray to Krishna that may he bless you so you will accept them. So that is anugraha, that is truthfulness, that is fearless, that is conviction actually. That is the faith in the word of the Lord, that it will win the hearts of everybody, provided the Lord just gives a little bit of a merciful glance. But sometimes Prabhupada would say, I created that goodwill for you. He's an acharya. He could say things like that. He actually did that. They describe the Vedas in their original sense, and out of mercy they preach the purpose of the Vedas to all conditioned souls. They preach the essence of the Vedas, purpose of the Vedas to all conditioned souls out of mercy, anugraha. This is one of the crown jewel characteristic, or shall we say, bhava of the Brahmanas. It's a crown jewel in the sense that the reason we say that anugraha, the mercy, the compassion, forgiving nature is crown jewel is because that is more required in this age, fallen age, than in any of the previous ages. Because in this age, people tend to slip and fall very often, very easily. And so, unless you have a loving father-like, mother-like, loving, merciful, kind, understanding, sympathizing, empathizing kind of a personality. You may feel intimidated sometimes by descriptions of standards of Paramahamsa and so on, how you should be like this, how you should be like that. But the Brahmana will so mercifully tell, don't worry, I'll hold your hand, take you. Take one small step at a time, that's fine. The Lord understands. One little small step at a time. And if you fall, I'm there to lift you up again. That is the meaning of Anugraha. If you fall, I'm there to lift you up again. And that's because I recognize that one time it is said that His Holiness Japataka Maharaj recalls this incident, and he says that he was sitting in Prabhupada's room, and there was a letter that came from a couple. This happened in Mayapur, from where, France or something, some couple, young couple. They wrote to Prabhupada a very pathetic, piteous prayer. They wrote. They said that they had received some books from Prabhupada. They had maybe heard some lectures or whatever. So the couple is writing that we're trying we are deeply impressed by you. We think you're a godly man. You're a God's man. And we think you have come here to shower God's mercy upon people like us. And we see you doing it tirelessly. We understand you. We hear that you're traveling and so often and everywhere and giving out the message of God, inviting everybody and so on. Japatak Maharaj recalls it was a long letter. And Prabhupada was reading that, or it was being read to Prabhupada. And then they speak about themselves, this couple. They say that we know what you're speaking is the supreme truth, the highest truth, and for our greatest welfare. When we first read everything that you have said, with great eagerness and enthusiasm, we tried practicing these principles. But we live alone. We are surrounded by nobody either understands or sympathizes with what both of us are trying to do. All our friends or relatives, parents are in a completely different mood. So it's becoming so increasingly difficult for us to follow some of the things that you have told us, which we want to follow. We really want to. The purpose of writing this letter is to apologize to you. They had not even met Prabhupada or something. So Guru Maharaj remembers this whole incident and he recollects it, and Prabhupada. And then they write how they are not able to follow some of the instructions, how they are getting sucked into something. And then after that they sit back and they regret and they feel miserable and they feel hopeless. But they still don't want to give up this process, and they try again and they fail again because neither do have support or anything. So Guru Maharaj remembers that as this letter was being read, there were tears rolling down Srila Prabhupada's eyes. And Prabhupada mentioned that he held on to that letter, and Guru Maharaj remembers that after that day, for many, many days, this incident happened in Mayapur. Whenever he would have distinguished Indian visitors, those were the days when you should remember that Western devotees were called as CIA agents. Prabhupada would have this letter read out to those dignitaries and important people who would visit him and say, you call them CIA agents? Look how they're struggling. How can anybody call these people as CIA agents? Prabhupada held on to that letter for a long time. Of course, I guess it must be preserved somewhere. And then His Holiness Japataka Maharaj mentions that is when I realized that among all the qualities, divine, transcendental, sweet qualities that Prabhupada had, he had this in great abundance, this quality of being merciful even to those who are struggling and not be able to, qualify themselves properly to become his. He said, Prabhupada would always say, see how they are struggling without any help, anything. And then he would request these Indian dignitaries and others, you should help this movement. This is what we are doing. This is what is our real goal. This is what is Sanatana Dharma. Reach out and provide shelter. This is what we all should be doing. This is what Lord Chaitanya came for. So he would, and so that is the meaning of Anugraha. Reaching out to someone repeatedly till they come back, till they are back, till they are, safe and secure. So this incident left a deep impression on many people, not just Japataka Maharaj. Left a very deep impression in his heart as to how merciful and kind he was, and how actually this is a quality. So like that. So then there is the see, without anugraha, without mercy, and without, nobody, if without shall we say, unless the heart is overflowing with a mood of compassion, how do we inherit this? We inherit by serving those devotees, those great acharyas, great mahapurushas, whose heart is overflowing with compassion, by serving them, by just observing them, by remembering their names, by remembering their mood. That is parampara, that is Guru Parampara, that same mood we will eventually tend to inherit. So, anugraha, what is the use of scriptures if all of that, if there is no anugraha, if there is no anugraha in the heart of the person who's giving it out? So, this is our actually most special possession of this parampara, the audarya, the magnanimity, the mahavadanyaya, the mercy, anugraha. This is what actually distinguishes us. So we don't really look at whether someone is a chandala or this or that. We say, all of us are same in the eyes of God. Come, let's serve the Lord together, and joyfully let's do that. So this is the, and Rishabhadeva goes to the extent of saying that I derive more pleasure from the food offered in that way than from the food offered to me directly. So this is one of the main themes of this whole chapter, where Rishabhadeva is instructing his sons just before he leaves. So you could consider that these are very vital, important instructions that he is imparting before he leaves. Like, for example, when before Yudhishthira leaves the kingdom and hands over to Parikshit, he talks to Satyavati, not Satyavati, Abhimanyu's mother, Parikshit's mother, Uttara, because Kunti is also no longer there. So he calls Uttara and tells her that Parikshit will be the king and you will be the Rajmata, the queen, the mother queen or queen mother. So you'll be the Rajmata. And as I'm leaving now, I have only one instruction to share with you. He says, there will be times in future that you will be tested. There will be strange situations, complex situations, very precarious situations, precarious conditions. You will confront by virtue of being the queen mother. But if there's one thing that I want to tell you that I have learned, and if I have to condense all my life's experience in one statement, one instruction, I would like to leave you with. He says, don't ever, for any reason, no matter how tempting or how convincing it may appear, don't ever abandon the path of dharma and devotion. So that is the instruction with which he leaves. He says, don't ever abandon. Don't even think about it. Don't even don't even contemplate the thought. Dharma and bhakti is everything for us. Devotion and dharma is everything for us. Actually, dharma means Strictly speaking, dharma incorporates the whole concept of devotion to Krishna. So he says, don't ever abandon dharma. And he leaves. Similarly, Rishabhadeva is retiring and he's giving these instructions and he's telling very clearly, he's telling his sons. In an earlier instruction, he says that they simply engage in my devotional service. And in another instruction, he says, you can't be envious of anybody. You can't be envious of anybody. Least of all, you can't be envious of these Brahmanas. These Brahminical people are very, very special. They're very dear. Without the presence of Brahminical leaders, the society is incomplete. Society is doomed. Because a part of being a Brahmana is being fearless, is to have strong conviction, is to have clarity of thought, is to have but part of being a Brahmana is also being smart, which means the Brahmanas more than anybody else know how to present the essence according to time, place and circumstances, or how to preach the purpose of the Vedas according to time, place and circumstances. So without the Brahminical personalities, a society will eventually tend to become animalistic, inevitably animalistic. And the Brahmanas are fearless. Brahmanas consider, like I mentioned, that the act of preaching truthfully means with conviction, with great love, with great mercy, with great fearlessness, and with no compromise. So they're obviously and they deservedly are worshipped in a society. They're the leaders. They're the head of the pyramid. And so he's warning his sons, don't ever be envious of any living entity, which means including those Brahminical class of people, because you not only not be envious, but preserve them, protect them, worship them, serve them. Because not just you, the whole society benefits by their presence, by their words, by their instructions, by them being role models. The whole society needs them, which is why Prabhupada says that the first step of the advent of Kali Yuga was, one decisive step was that son of that Rishi, Shringi, Samika Rishi's son, Shringi, wanting to audaciously display the power of his Brahminical culture. I mean, not culture, actually, Brahminical learnings. That's not culture. That's not Brahminical culture. That's just learning part. He didn't have anugraha. He didn't have. He was not truthful. That was not being truthful to the essence, the purpose, and spirit of the Vedic instruction. He had learned. He just knew. He acquired some skills because of his tapasya and upbringing, but rest of the qualities of Brahmana were completely missing. So Prabhupada said that marked a decisive downfall or advent that gave an opportunity to Kali to advent, or not advent, to intrude into this world, that fall down of Shringi. So what to speak of being envious? These personalities need to be worshipped, which is why when Vyasadeva meets the Pandavas in the forest and they're feeling very weak and vulnerable and very scared, prior to being, just when they had escaped from the Varnavrata, that fire, what is that called? It's called House of Lac, where it was believed that they were burned to death or something. So Vyasadeva says that you're feeling like that because you don't have a guru who can protect you. And that's when they're instructed to approach Daumya, and they accept Daumya as a guru. So the society needs Brahminical people, Brahminical culture, Brahminical courage, Brahminical conviction, and Brahminical anugraha, Brahminical compassion. Well, compassion doesn't mean that we compromise. Compassion means that we compromise and adjust. Compassion means we recognize the truth, we recognize the principles, but we acknowledge our inability to follow them, and we are genuinely trying to come to that standard. That's the proper usage of compassion. Mercy cannot be taken to understand that there will be compromise in the original teachings. No, that cannot be. That is not true application of mercy. True application of mercy is, yes, we understand we're not able to follow, but we won't bring down that standard. That's not mercy. Mercy means we understand you're not able to follow, but try. Here is how you can try better. Here's how you can do it. Here's a technique you can. Here's how you can actually come to that standard. Until then, we'll pray for you. We'll help you. We'll assist you. But mercy doesn't mean compromising or reducing the standards of the sacred teachings of the Lord as they come down. So, without the component of mercy. So now, if you were to look at, let's say, the Kali Yuga, it's hard to spot anybody like that. Prabhupada was like a paradox, you could say, in Kali Yuga. This is like absolute mystical phenomena, Srila Prabhupada. Mystical, transcendental, very, very empowered, unique phenomena in the history of this world. How Prabhupada could achieve what he did, it's impossible to logically reason out. Just came out of nowhere and did all this. It appears like that, it came out of nowhere, but we all know that it was foretold, it was predicted, and he had a lifetime of preparation. And then because he had all these qualities that are being spoken about here, that he had that conviction in the scripture, he had the courage, he knew living entities, no matter what the color of the skin is, whichever part they're living in, they're all children of God, one God. And they'll all one day accept the teachings of Bhagavatam and accept the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and reform themselves. They just had to be encouraged, they just had to be. So he came out of something. I mean, it is inconceivable what Srila Prabhupada achieved and showed. So, Rishabhadeva is telling his sons that part of your duty is to protect, worship, is to respect, is to bow down to people with Brahminical qualities. Because Rishabhadeva is saying, they're me. You feed me by feeding them. That's not a small statement that he is making. And it is from Brahmanas you learn the art of becoming a devotee. The art of living in this world, which is such a complicated, complex world of dualities and etc. So you learn from the Brahmanas because they have anugraha. So you have to understand that a society has sanity, has some hope if there is Brahminical culture still preserved, or there are Brahminical people. Hence Prabhupada would unhesitatingly say that our first mission is to make the Brahmanas. Prabhupada said, so rightfully he said, Brahmanas are like the head. You may have a tight body, you may have a fit body, but if your head is not right, then you will probably use the body to harm yourself, harm the society, which is what we are seeing today. Because nothing is tempered by the Brahminical vision or culture or knowledge or Brahminical people. So, Rishabhadeva is telling that, and Prabhupada is mentioning that these instructions are not relevant only to common people, they're also meant for the sannyasis. And in the end in today's verse, you could see that having delivered his instruction, Rishabhadeva sets out. He left the Brahmavarta to tour the whole world. He's done his job, he's instructed. And then he has also told them, among you, I think Bharata is the best Brahmana, or whatever, best qualified. to protect the Brahmanas, because Bharata is Kshatriya basically. So to protect the Brahmanas, who understands the need to necessity to protect the Brahmanas, is best qualified. So you accept him as the king. And then he retires and well and truly retires and shows by his own perfect example what it means to retire. In the next few verses you will see what does it mean to detach from this world. Just a small hint is given in today's verse. As this story progresses, you will see what it means to retire from this world, what it means when we say the Lord is renounced. When we say Lord is renounced, it doesn't mean he's abandoning. You should never understand that the Lord abandons anything. But you could say he is transferring the responsibility of managing the affairs of this world, in this case to his son Bharata. It's not that Lord becomes, once he has transferred to his son Bharata, then he retires. There's a difference between retiring and abandoning. He retires. Retirement is a very thoughtful, very well thought out, well planned activity. It's retirement is when you transfer your responsibility onto somebody. You could say, like in our movement also, we say that the gurus transfer, or whatever the acharyas transfer their responsibility to the next in succession, like that. It's also a very sacred, very because time being time, so retirement goes hand in hand with time, in the sense that one has to retire. We are born, we live for some time, and then we retire and we vanish. So Rishabhadeva is accepting that, and like I said, it's different from abandoning or different from giving up or something. It is with a great sense of responsibility, transferring his responsibilities onto some very competent person, and that's when we are qualified to retire. Rishabhadeva retires, and we only get a glimpse, we only get a jalak of what it means to retire. He says he becomes like a madman, naked, completely. Very different from what he was before. He just says, I've done my job, I found my success, I've handed over the responsibility to him. He's competent. I've instructed him. I've told him everything that I need to tell. Everything that I need to tell. And as the last piece of instruction, I've told him that, I've told my sons and Bharata that, please understand that surround yourself with Brahminical people. They're your best friends, they're your best protectors, they're your well-wishers. They are me, they're my representatives. Rishabhadeva is saying, they are my representatives. You can see me through them, these Brahmanas. So don't ever feel, or you will not ever feel that I'm not there. I'm there through these Brahmanas. So Rishabhadeva does that, and then he retires. So we say that this is one of the opulence of the Lord, that he's got this opulence of renunciation. It's never to be understood as abandonment. It has to be understood as switching, respecting time, and maybe switching to another role or whatever. It has to be understood with great responsibility. It can't be. So Rishabhadeva shows his opulence in its extremity. I mean, it's actually just becomes disheveled hair, naked, and walks off. Well, that part Prabhupada didn't ask us to follow. But all the rest, yes. Understand his teaching, understand Rishabhadeva's mood, understand why he worships the Brahmanas. It's actually a very sweet delineation of the qualities of a Brahmana, and why he is considered the crown of the top of the pyramid, and why he deserves the kind of respect and worship that he is offered. So, and then he's imparting this as one of his final instructions to Bharata and his 100 sons. So, it becomes the duty of the Kshatriyas, Prabhupada repeatedly says, to be under the Brahmanical regulation and shall we say supervision, and very, very consciously, deliberately, consciously, responsibly attend to the directions of the Brahmanical class of men. So ultimately he is telling Bharata that don't think you're the supreme of, you're the king, all right, but you have to understand that there's another layer above you, and that layer is the Brahmanas. Like that. So this is the mode in which I think Rishabhadeva is instructing his sons. But in the later part, we'll see what does it mean to retire and renounce. We also have to understand that we also retire, at least tell our minds that we have to retire from pursuing materialistic. We tend to do it, materialistic. In the Vaishnava culture, we understand that if somebody is accidentally or inadvertently or unintentionally or without being conscious, we tend to pursue some wanting to become important or recognized or something. And we have to remember Rishabhadeva's instructions that how will the world care for someone who's walking around naked and disheveled hair? And so Rishabhadeva is presenting that kind of a contrast to us, saying, what are we trying to do? And what did the Lord do when he appeared here? It's like that. So Bhagavatam is an amazing check and balance. It's a very, very... But then, of course, if you read some other verses in this chapter, you'll see that Bhagavatam is also a kind of a camouflaged Rasika literature, in the sense that in the way Rishabhadeva presents Brahmanical culture, you can find that there is the rasa of attachment, deep, profound attachment to devotees that the Lord has, and he's expressing it in various ways. Rishabhadeva is expressing it in various ways. So it is the original rasa literature, original rasa grantha, the Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram. Thank you very much. Sure, Prabhuji.
But wait a minute. The verse is speaking about the Brahmanas. So when you were speaking, I was thinking, Prabhupada, he wanted the whole Varnashram Dharma system. Of course, Brahmanas is the head of the body. I just heard the lecture yesterday of the society. You have to have a head. Brahma's the head. But you can't have the head without the other parts of the body.
You're right.
So, in this world, you have to have all four. And according to one's qualities and as far as Vaishnava Adhikar, we're going to act accordingly. That's just how it is. So, another point I was remembering is Anya Bilashita Shunyam
Jnana Karma
Naritama Nukuneda Krishna Luchinam Bhakta Uttama. That's what we want to
Yeah,
achieve.
you're right.
That's where we want to go. Because Vaishnava supersedes
Yeah.
Brahmana. You can be a Brahmana and not be a Vaishnava. You have all the qualities of a Brahman, but not be a Vaishnava. But a Vaishnava, what is that? Whatever the Lord
Yes.
wants. That's why the gopis are the number one of all the devotees of the Lord. Because what? They love the Lord so much regardless.
Yeah, I understand.
So my point is, always remember that. And then the second point, I remember that for us, this Kali Yuga. This is the age of Kali Yuga. And if Kali Yuga, what is the 4 principles that are already finished? I wrote a song about that. It's just the nature of Kali Yuga. 1, mercy. God. We're talking about all merciful. There's no mercy really. It's very difficult for people to accept or give mercy. Austerity, none. Cleanliness, none. And the only one that's standing, who's the one that's standing? Truth. The truth is always available. Water is always wet. It's wet yesterday, it's wet today. It's going to be wet another trillion years from now, and it was that way another trillion. It has nothing to do with, well, that's Prabhu, that's your opinion, that's what you think, that's what you believe. No, it's just a fact. We just have the option to accept or not accept. But that is the nature of this age. And because of that, the main quality that we have in Kali is quarrel, hypocrisy. So if we remember that in our daily life, knowing that these are qualities of Kali Yuga, and it's going to be influence in everything we do, and it comes all the time. It's always in our daily life. That'll give us some understanding and some strength, because these things, like you said, those qualities are glorious, but not very easy. Not very easy to conquer. But because we've been learning how to become a Vaishnava, that supersedes all of that. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, thank you very much. But I just want to point out that Lord Sripadeva instructed his 100 sons, of whom eldest Bharata was very advanced devotee and a follower of Vaishnavas. So which means we are not talking about Brahminical qualifications divorced from the concept of Vaishnavism. So in the sequence of Rishabhadeva is talking about what you rightly pointed out, that Vaishnava Brahmana. Because the concept of devotion is there. Underlying theme is there in all the verses. So what you rightly pointed out, that merely by a sheer display of Brahminical qualities doesn't make you qualified to be the head of the society, like you pointed out. And I mentioned the example of Shringi. He had Brahminical qualities, quote unquote Brahminical qualities, but he was not a Vaishnava, and hence he chose to misuse them. Nice point about how there is a complete lack of qualification of the people of Kali Yuga, and Brahmanas have to be the head. Thank you very much, bro. Grateful to you. Very grateful to you. Anybody else? Any other comment? Prabhu, you want to say something? You want to ask?
Prabhu, the question is the same what you explained, and Prabhu was also answering. When we speak about the philosophical point that Krishna accepts the offerings through the mouths of Brahmanas, I was just thinking whether it is the symbolic, it's a symbolic point which represents purity and spiritual qualification, rather than the mouths of Brahmanas. Is it true, Prabhu, if I'm understanding that way? And then you added that Vaishnavas are the topmost.
No. When it comes to the Shastra, there's nothing symbolic.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
When we hear prayers from the Acharya, all the Acharyas that we follow, it's like the prayers we sing these prayers in the morning from Vishwanatha Chakrabarti. Those are not symbolic. They mean every word that they say. When we speak about the Shastra from the Acharyas, there's no symbolic. It's all as is. That's why when Prabhupada translated the Bhagavad Gita, he said, Bhagavad Gita as it is. Pure, as it is. We either, see, the truth don't have nothing to do with what we think. It just is. It's like the water. It's always as it is. Pure. We just have the option to accept or not accept it. The truth, it don't change. It doesn't change. So on that point, it's not, symbolic is not there. No, it's as is. They mean that. What they're saying, they actually mean that. Not symbolic. There's nothing symbolic when it comes to a Shastra.
Well, yeah. See, we have to understand that there is a little bit of a symbolism
At least
here.
that's my understanding from Prabhupada.
Pardon me? Pardon me?
At least that's my understanding from Prabhupada.
Yeah.
We can only speak from our understanding.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of symbolism there, nevertheless, because when Rishabhadeva is mentioning that I eat through the mouth, I'm more happy. The symbolism is to the extent that if you feed the Brahmanas, serve the Brahmanas, worship the Brahmanas, that's more pleasing to me than worshipping me. That to that extent there is a symbolism, but not that symbolism. Offering food to the Brahmanas is symbolism, symbolic respect. No, it is not. Actually, the Lord is accepting, but like Prabhu pointed out. But the symbolism to the extent that you can stretch this example to cover that if I worship him, I serve him, I accept him, I follow his instructions, I surrender to him, I do Sharanagati to him, and I look at him as the dearest and the most merciful representative of Krishna in my life. That is the mood. So you could extend this example to make it all pervasive, in the sense very complete, that if you're rightfully situated, if you accept the Lord's representative also, and then accept his instruction and serve him and follow him and worship him and carry on with your life joyfully under his shelter. The shelter of a Brahmana, our shelter of a devotee is as complete as that of Krishna himself. Yes, Prabhu.
I have to share it with you later. This is a story, true story. One reporter was asking Prabhupada. He was asking Prabhupada.
Yes, Prabhu, carry on.
He was asking Prabhupada, can you speak with Krishna? Can you talk with Krishna? Can you communicate with Krishna? And so Rameshwar, he interjected and said, just like sometimes we symbolically hear the Lord comes in the heart and he gives some direction. Prabhupada stopped him. He said, why are you speaking this nonsense? He said, no, I speak directly with Krishna. Directly with, I am communicating with him. So again, my point about this symbolism, that's not in the Shastra. We don't teach that way. It's as is. When Rishabhadeva saying he's speaking and eating through me, he means that. Not no symbol, not symbolic. There's nothing symbolic when it comes to anything that's coming from the Shastra. It comes down to Shraddha. How much faith do you have in these words that the Lord has given from the Parampara? What we have is called top down, and then bottom up. There's two systems in the world. 98% of the system in the world is bottom up. What is bottom up? Bottom up means what you think. What you think, what you believe in, what your opinion is. We come from top down. Top down means what? Parampara. From Rasha we do, from Krishna all the way down. And one of the things that super impressed me when I was only 14 years old was how they had a parampara. There was an unbroken chain of teachers. That impressed me. I couldn't believe that. When I read the Bhagavad Gita, I was 14, I was blown away. Because I grew up doing in America during that time was the civil rights era. Martin Luther King, he was doing this, he was going around preaching about the rights for black and all these things. When I read Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is, and you see the parampara, where each acharya, one after another, and they all had their same exact qualities. That was very impressive. So we really got to have what you think. What is your level of shraddha in this process? And everybody, each and every one of us have what's called our adhikar. And according to that adhikar, the Lord being pleased with your service, He reveals Himself. So that's a very important point. And I'm
Got it, Prabhu. No symbolism. Accept it as it is. Thank you very much. Grateful to you. Rantaran Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadramaya, Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Jagat Guru Patit Pavan, Shri Prabhupada ki, Thai, Gaur Premananda.